All right, welcome to another edition of 10 Ton Hammer Talks. Sorry about that. For those of you that are here live with us, I totally did not check my tech. I was trying to do it a cool way and have multiple profiles on OBS. Didn't work out. So, anyways, we are here. Got a pretty cool show planned for you guys, of course. We are 10 Ton Hammer. We write there.
Yes.
That's where the majority of our content comes from. We do all our writing there. Jeremy covers MOBAs, esports, a lot of competitive gaming. So if you're interested in any of those topics, check out 1010hammer.com for his stuff there. I believe you also started a live video, or not a live, but a video column there over there as well. So
Correct.
the Halls of Justice, you guys can check that out. And then my stuff, I've got my column pops over there, and then I cover a really wide range of gaming. I'm kind of the swing man and just cover everything everywhere on that site. So yeah, check it out. Support us. We have a Patreon campaign, and you can support the site directly too, which is even better. So yeah, definitely check it out. And that is our thing in the beginning of the show. So today's show we have a game called Paragon. It actually hit my in mailbox like last week. I kind of got to a little bit look at it, but I wanted to kind of preview the trailer because I don't think it's on many people's radars. It was just announced, so I don't think a lot of people know about it yet. But the stage it's at is pretty far along, so it looks pretty amazing. So we're gonna run those preview clips here, and then we're gonna kind of react to it, and you guys can talk with us too about what you think of it. We'll just have kind of a big discussion on it, and that will be the plan. So let me get that first one queued up. So I have them all ready here. I just gotta get one on. All right. So that's not the one I want. That's the one I want. All right, here we go. All right, so that was the first one. That's their cinematic trailer, and yeah. So I'll go ahead and pass to Jeremy first. What are your thoughts on this thing so far?
I try to, I guess, reserve judgment a little bit, just based on cinematics. I think it'll be cool when we get into the gameplay trailer. That might give us a little more information, but it certainly looks nice. I think one of the things that they're hyping up, is that the graphics are supposed to be really good. It's on the Unreal 4 engine, if I'm not mistaken. So like it's supposed to look very nice, and it sure does. It seems to follow traditional MOBA format. 3 lanes. You got your minions. You got your towers, and you push down or whatever. I guess the interesting part is always because even if you go back and look at like League of Legends, like first cinematic trailer, right? It looked a lot better than I guess. It looked a lot different, let's say. Maybe not better, different than what the actual gameplay was. So I said I'm interested to see what the gameplay trailer brings us. But it looks like they've got some pretty cool ideas for what their characters can do. So yeah, I'm excited to see what comes next. It was very visually appealing, which is I guess is all you can really get out of a cinematic trailer. But it was certainly nice to look at.
Yeah, I thought, well, one of the things that I always kind of take when obviously you judge cinematic trailer differently than the game because it's just meant to, hype, show people something cool. But I do think that when a game does a really good cinematic trailer, it's a really good indication that the creators really have something they're trying to, really present. I think, there's occasionally you get a really terrible game that has an awesome cinematic, but for the most part, games with really good cinematic trailers do feel like really good. The gameplay, like, I don't know, it just comes off better, whereas opposed you have like a crappy cinematic or no cinematic at all, and you're already wondering, well, if they don't have the money to put into the cinematic, are the art assets and other things, graphics, like appealing and stuff. So that's one thing I always think about when I see a really good one. Obviously, it's not a true indicator of how good the gameplay will be, but it always puts a good, it gets a little bit of hope started for me, I guess to say. But yeah,
Sure.
yeah, that's kind of like my first impression for the cinematic trailer. Obviously, there's some cool things that are happening in that, but yeah, I've technically seen like both of these before because I did, but I haven't seen them in a while. So I'm going to show the next one now to you guys, and I am pretty excited about this next one. So gameplay trailer is coming up now. Alright, so that was the second trailer, and let me pop that down, there we go. So that was the gameplay trailer, and just before I pass off to Jeremy, I just want to say, like, one of the interesting things I found with this game is that they actually use the character models that they built for the game for the cinematic. So one of the cool things is seeing that awesome cinematic trailer. That's actually just a kind of souped up of some of the in-game world and the in-game character models. So that was one thing that really impressed me, actually, was seeing the pairing of those two different trailers. One, obviously, okay, yeah, it's a cinematic, it's going to be, look awesome, that's what they're supposed to do. And then the gameplay trailer actually has pretty high-end graphics for, what we expect from a MOBA. You look at a MOBA, it took League of Legends like quite a while to kind of get the graphics to where they are now, and they have a really stylized art attempt, whereas this one is kind of aiming for more of that like photorealism to an extent. So that's always something that I don't really quite think about when it comes to MOBAs, like photorealism. It has never seemed like a match before, but from what I've seen of this game, it looks pretty dang interesting, and it looks pretty polished for alpha, for some alpha footage. So I think that and obviously the real benefit is that the game is being built in Unreal Engine 4, which, Epic Games, that's what they do. So their artists and obviously their coders, everything have a lot of experience in that game engine. So I believe it's showing. So, but yeah, I'll go ahead and pass. Jeremy, what did you think of it?
Well, I guess it accomplishes its goal of making me want to see more. Start with that, it certainly looks good. That was one of the largest shields I've ever seen. I guess that's one of that character's abilities, is you can throw and just make a shield a massive wall that it looks like projectiles can't pass through. So that was very large and nice. Yeah, I guess that's going to be one of the first things that's going to try to bring mass appeal to this game. Is, yes, you've played other MOBAs, but look at how much prettier ours is. And I think that, I mean, it's not a bad way to go, because, people do like, good graphics. I mean, I know I'm a sucker for nice graphics. So I think that will be one of the first things that people are going to notice, is just how good it looks. Because you're right. I mean, you look at most of their games, you look at, alpha footage, you don't expect to see anything that looks like that. So that's nice. I think we really still don't know much about the gameplay, other than that we know it's played in third person, which, as some people in chat mentioned, Smite is really the only MOBA right now that's running that way. So there is, I'm sure, still space to explore there. So yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of information we're missing. The one actually very small thing that it was easy to miss is that right at the end, you'll notice that it's being advertised not only on PC but PS4 as well. So clearly they're already developing it with console in mind. I know Smite originally started as PC, and then they ended up moving it, creating it also on the Xbox. So Paragon is clearly already planning on saying, all right, well, Xbox has a third-person MOBA, so let's give PlayStation a third-person MOBA as well. So I think that's a pretty interesting note as well.
Yeah, that's something I saw when I was first looking at it. Already planning it right out the gate for PlayStation 4. So that and I didn't even take into thought about Smite, only being on the Xbox so far. So yeah, that'll definitely be interesting to provide, console gamers with a MOBA that now they both platforms have a big, what I think anyways is going to be a big name MOBA. I mean, Epic Games is not necessarily a small studio, so it should be, already contending right out the gate as far as, trying to, jump into that. There's like a limited pool for MOBAs, I think. There's it's just like MMORPGs. There's only so many people that play. Granted, there's millions of people that play these, but every game in the same genre is going to start, cutting into each other's who's playing what. So, but anyways, not to dive too much into that quite yet. For the gameplay, obviously, like you were saying, Jeremy, there's not a whole lot that we can get really from, maybe if we break down, every couple frames by the gameplay trailer, we'll be able to really pull a lot of things out of it. But yeah, just generally, the big standout for me in seeing the gameplay trailer was seeing the verticality, and it reminded me a lot of, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Firefall, but Firefall is like a first-person shooter that's an MMORPG, and you have jump jets, and you're just, the terrain is really, the world terrain is built to be like jumping all around, jump jets, firing down, using terrain to your advantage, a lot of different stuff like that. So, in a tactical strategy game, because I believe MOBAs are, one of the more tactical, strategic games out there, and I think that combining, MOBAs are always really good about, well, not all of them, but a lot, but the whole intent is, skill-based gameplay, strategy, and just using your knowledge of your character, the map, all these things to your advantage to try and beat your opponent. So immediately, to me, the verticality stands out because, for one, Smite is the other third-person view type MOBA out there, but in Smite, I don't even know why they have a jump button in that game, because it doesn't help you dodge attacks. You don't actually jump.
Well, I mean, it's the same as like, bunny hopping in like Call of Duty or something, right? It's not like a huge deal, but it when everything is a skill shot, which it is in Smite, it can make it a little bit harder.
Yeah.
hit.
Well, the weird thing though is with Smite, you like can't even adjust your auto attack height aim. So like, even when people jump, they're not even like dodging a shot, which makes it really weird. You know, they might just have it in there just because, yeah, it might make it more interesting. Anyways, the whole point I was making is that, there's no verticality in Smite, nor is there verticality in pretty much any, MOBA that I can think of off the top of my head. StarCraft or Dota, which became League of Legends, the original Dota. A lot of developers moved that to make League of Legends. Came from Warcraft, and like StarCraft map engine stuff like that. Which those actually did have some verticality. There was basically a ground level and then a high level. Which that was never really used too much in those. I believe River dropped you down in the original Dota, if my memory serves me correctly. It's been a long time since I played. But anyways, not a lot of verticality at all to MOBAs, which is interesting because, it's a type of game that actually takes advantage, there can be a lot of explore, I can't think of the word, my words are not working today, but there could be a lot of ways that it could be used, whereas like another game might not have a lot of purpose for verticality, but in a tactical, especially a tactical shooter type, this one looks a lot more like a first-person shootery feel. Maybe it's the third person, maybe it's just because all the characters we were shown basically were ranged. I believe there was like 2 melee ones, but yeah, there was a lot of like leaping and stuff as well, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays into it, because it's something totally new to MOBAs, I think. Unless anybody in the audience can think of one. Yeah, I don't know. But.
Yeah, it's definitely unique, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays in. And then the other unique part of Paragon, which was not shown in either of those trailers, is the card aspect, which we don't have a lot of information on right now, but you, as you play, it seems that you'll unlock cards, which will help shape your character and your abilities and how you want to fight, and giving, and just from what they show on the website right now is what is available, things like cooldown reduction, mana on hits, life steal, attack speed, those kinds of things will all be unlocked through cards, and I guess the more you play, the more cards you can unlock. So that's something that's going to be pretty unique within the MOBA space as well. I don't know how different it'll be than other things like, say, runes and masteries in League of Legends. I don't know if it'll really, be much different, but maybe it will. They haven't really explained a whole lot about that yet, but I'm interested to see exactly how that's implemented.
Yeah, one thing that's been on my radar a lot lately, probably ever since we first bumped into Labyrinth, has been CCGs, TCGs, whatever you want to call them. TCGs is more for trading outside the game, but most digital games are CCG. That are card games are CCG collectibles. So those have been on my radar a lot, and I honestly, when I first bumped into Paragon, the card thing totally caught me by surprise. I was not expecting that. I watched the first videos, and I was looking into the site, and then I see unlock cards. I'm like, huh. But the interesting thing for me about that was because just, I think, 2 days before that, I had downloaded and installed the Paladins alpha or beta. I think it's an alpha, by
alpha.
Hi-Rez. That's Hi-Rez's other new. I wouldn't call it a MOBA necessarily. It's very much like a MOBA.
They say it's not.
Yeah,
for what it's worth.
I would say it's closer to a MOBA than any other game. For me, it's probably in between a MOBA and a little arena thing, like a Quake game, Quake Live or something like that. It's basically Paladins is in between that. But the point is, Paladins has cards as well. You unlock cards, and you can have like 3 or 4. And basically, the further on the match goes, you get to play another card. And basically, the card just does kind of like what Jeremy was saying that we're thinking Paragon might do, is it augments things that you can do, or things, attributes, passive attributes about what your character's damage is, or their mana, or things like that. So Paladins had that, so I was kind of caught off guard when I saw Paragon pop up, and then it had it as well. So like, card game mechanics are really making a huge push into digital gaming, especially, which is interesting, into like non-card based genres. I mean, MMORPGs, MOBAs, action dungeon crawlers with Labyrinth. So it's an interesting thing. So we may talk about that on an entirely different show, but yeah, I think the card mechanic thing for Paragon specifically is pretty interesting because cards are really a unique mechanic just because they provide a physical game token, which satiates a player's, hey, I'm getting something. It's like getting loot in an MMORPG. You're getting something, but at the same time, cards provide a unique tactical and strategic element to a game while also providing an element of randomness, which I think is necessary for MOBAs. Even though MOBAs are really geared to have less RNG impact the game, but I think it's really important to make every match feel a little bit different and less predictable, having some amount of random things happening that people have to react to. So I'll be interested to see if Paragon uses the cards like Paladin, where Paladin, basically the way Paladin uses them, you just get a new card that pops up, and you basically pick your cards beforehand, so you kind of know what they're going to be. But I wonder if there's going to be a slight bit of variance. Maybe you have 5 cards and you get 3 in a match, and you'll draw them randomly. So you have to react and change your playstyle a little bit based on the cards that you get that start modifying your style. So I don't know. It just depends. We'll have to see. Obviously, we don't know much yet, but I'm really curious to see what they do with the cards specifically and the verticality.
Yeah, and I think there's a couple points being brought up in chat here, about people who maybe aren't fans of card games, or even if they're open to the idea, but exactly how it's implemented. So it's really going to come down to, is it going to be in a way that will make sense within the game, or is it going to feel like something that's just, hey, we hear cards are really popular right now. So as I say, it could be, as you mentioned, it could be something that just pops up during the game, could be somewhat randomized. It could be similar to, as I said, League of Legends, runes and mastery system, where it's not randomized, and you know what you're getting before you go into the game, but maybe there could still be the element of randomization that you have to earn cards over time, and maybe how you earn them is somewhat randomized. You can't necessarily control exactly what card you earn when, so maybe there's some randomization there. So there's definitely a few different ways of going about it. So until we know exactly how Paragon intends to implement them, I'll reserve judgment. But there's definitely ways it can be done well, and ways that it can be done that it might just feel like it's kind of shoehorned in because they wanted something different. So we'll really have to wait and see. I think it's something that could be very cool. I mean, as we all know, I am a fan of card games, so I think it's something that could be cool if they do it right. But I'm definitely interested to see exactly what the implementation is.
Yeah, one thing I think to just to address Zero there about your dislike for TCGs, I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you a little bit. If you're talking very specifically, I'm not a big TCG fan. I do play Magic the Gathering with friends, but I don't really engage in the trading part with players. If anything, I buy a few singles online or something, but I generally like to just, build and play with friends. There's not a whole lot of the trading outside the game, but deck construction, sharing a collection with friends, that might, I guess, qualify in TCG. So I don't know, but I think card games, like just purely for a card only game, I can see it being a playstyle that people don't like, but as far as having cards just enter a game as a mechanic, I think, like Jeremy was saying, if they're done correctly, and there's ways to do it correctly, to where it doesn't feel like it's this awkward, it can feel really nice with the game. I don't know if any of you guys watched when I did a live stream of Labyrinth's demo, or saw any of their videos when we were like kind of checking out their Kickstarter and stuff, but I feel like the card mechanics in there, aren't really awkward. They just kind of, it's just the game. It's just that game. So, and it doesn't feel like a card game to me. It feels like an action dungeon game, like an action RPG. So just happens to have cards in it, which adds some unique strategy. So yeah, I don't know. I think that TCGs can be weird, but I think card mechanics, parts of CCGs, make great fits with a lot of digital games, and obviously they're invading like some interesting genres that you wouldn't expect them to be in. So it'll be an interesting, I'm expecting 2016 and probably 2017 to start offering some really interesting new innovations in digital gaming. Just from what we've seen already announced kind of at the end of this year, several games that are starting to do that. Paladins, Paragon, Labyrinth. Those are just three that I can name off the top of my head, but there are more. I was looking at, I looked at another one. There's like Legends of Calacia. I won't go into details about that one because I'm probably going to stream it next week at some time. But yeah, card mechanics are kind of making their way into stuff, which I think is interesting because cards have been probably the oldest game mechanic, like since like ancient times. I mean, other than tokens and dice, cards, a 52 card deck has been like the king of gaming for a very long time. Tarot cards are just interesting because, like I was saying earlier, I think I kind of deviated off it, but they're a physical game token, but they also, you can write things on them, you can bend the game rules with them, you can define the game rules with the cards themselves. So they're really unique just because, in a lot of ways, they're really elegant. It's not this, weird thing where you've got, okay, here's the rules you got to read for the game before you play it, and then you have the pieces and you move the pieces around. Board games, a lot of board games can feel really awkward because of that, and cards really help that because you're getting the rules in the game already. It's really natural and organic. So I think that those things can really benefit digital games too, because digital games is basically like an immersive board game. You're in the board game, you're moving the pieces, you're doing things. So if the cards are helping people understand the rules or provide the rules or augmenting things in a intuitive way, then they can be really great. If they're getting in the way and providing a bunch of useless complexity, then that's not so good. But it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, if you go to the Paragon's website, you can click the unlock cards and you can look, and it each of their 5 or 6 characters that they have on the site so far has a few different options, and they just tell you a little bit about a specialization of that character that you can pick. So we don't know hardly anything about what the cards are going to do in this game, but I'm curious to see how they actually work in the gameplay itself. It was another thing too, I was curious with Labyrinth, before we really got to get in the demo, I was curious how the cards worked in real time, and getting to play the demo was really satisfying because I think that they did it really well and really intuitively. So I'm hoping to see a similar approach from Epic Games with Paragon, and trying to make that, make the cards really intuitive and not make them feel awkward and intrusive and other things. I still, just the little bit I've played of Paladins, it was weird to me, so I don't know. I'm hoping to see a different flavor of it from Paragon, but the cards felt weird at first, but that could just be because Paladins is a weird game. It's not a MOBA, it's not a arena thing, it's just a weird game. It's fun, but it's very weird. So yeah, enough of me ranting.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right though. Basically what we don't want is, okay, here's a MOBA, and it's everything you'd expect from a MOBA, and everything's fleshed out. Oh, but also cards, because, cards. Like, you want it to be fully integrated into the game in a way that makes sense, that isn't intrusive, in a way that is easy to at least understand the core mechanic, as a new player picking up the game. That's really what it comes down to, is does it feel like it's a natural part of the game that you can enjoy playing with, or does it feel like, all right, well, I understand the entire game except why are there cards here? So like that's the big thing, and I think as long as it's done as a natural part of the game, that even for people that aren't super into card games, that they can just get and it makes sense, then it should be fine. I think it'll be good at that point.
Probably the biggest thing that caught me off guard with Paragon, I've mentioned a couple things, but the major thing was that seeing the release timings for this, they're going into closed testing like next month, and early spring I believe they're doing paid early access, followed by in the summer open beta. So I mean that is literally 6 months away from anybody
Yeah.
being able to get in the game. If you want to get in sooner, obviously you'll have to pay, or maybe you'll get invited into the closed testing. I'm not sure, but yeah, I mean the game is much further along than I was expecting it to be when it first came across my inbox. I was like, oh, okay,
Especially when they're
MOBA.
calling it alpha right now, right? Because you
Exactly.
hear
Yeah.
alpha, you expect that, all right, there's still going to be, a long time before, we really see much from this game, but it does not seem to be the case here.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, we've seen games left and right come out saying, hey, we're having our early access, here's our pre-alpha footage, and that's really the main like key distinguisher, I think, is pre-alpha. You have all these games saying pre-alpha. Paragon showed a video of their alpha footage, which it looked to me like that's probably their complete alpha. They're probably already moving into testing internally their beta client, because their alpha client's done. They've prototyped everything. They know what they want to do with the game itself, and now they're actually creating final art asset elements. Which is why they were able to make those really high quality videos and cinematics, because they have these, elaborate characters done for the most part. They've created five, probably more. We just have only seen 5. They've created 5 fully characters already with plenty of animations to them. So yeah, it's pretty far along. So it's not like one of those games you're looking at and you're like, oh, this is 2 years away. Like some of the games I talk about a lot, Revival, Request Next.
Yeah.
Who knows? That's going to be a year or more. So yeah, this game is coming up fast, and it is being made by a big studio that is very, very good at using this specific game engine. So it's not like an MMORPG where you've got a studio that's kind of building they may be using an engine, but they're building so many pieces and systems from scratch that it's it's a question mark to how many problems they're going to run into. But for these developers, I think that will be probably pretty minimal. It's a game engine they're really experienced with. Obviously, they might have some, hiccups as far as like coding things the way they want to get the actual MOBA mechanics to operate the way they want and the abilities to interact. Because one of the difficult things I think about MOBAs, as just an armchair gamer, not a developer myself, but having a little experience in what goes on behind the scenes, at least on the art side. Having so many different characters mechanically that have different kits and are manipulating the rules of the game, so to speak, is really reminiscent of like Magic the Gathering. Like any card can overrule the rules of the game because the card text rules, basically. And I think it's the same way in like, we'll use League of Legends for an example, because it's one of the games Jeremy and I are both really familiar with. You have all these different characters. They probably have, over 100 now, and each of these characters has different kits, and especially the newest, latest characters and all the reworks that they've done probably in the past year or two, they actually have really dynamic mechanics where they're actually manipulating overall, like, rules of the game, I should say, like basic physics rules and stuff like that, and they're getting really creative. So having all those things interact and not breaking the game seems to be really challenging to me. So I expect Paragon will struggle with maybe some of those things, the developers trying to get things to work the way they want in their game, but by and large I think that they'll suffer less challenges than other studios just because, they're really experienced in this specific game engine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as you said, there's always challenges with MOBAs. There's a lot that goes into making it, both work correctly and, function correctly on the back end, through coding and all that. So, I mean, fortunately, Epic, as you mentioned, is not, a tiny studio. They certainly, have a lot of experience in the industry. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what they come out with. Definitely going to want to get into that beta and see what they got.
Yeah, as am I. And that's really kind of like the main talking points we wanted to cover on this. Obviously, a very new game. We don't know a lot, so we'll be learning a lot. I expect we'll be learning a lot over the next coming months as they ramp up into their, they're going to be offering paid early access. So they're going to ramp into that. I'm sure there'll be some amount of hype. They're going to reveal stuff as they, get people excited about buying in early, because if you have an open beta coming in the summer, a lot of people are going to wait. So I imagine they're going to have some pretty juicy stuff come out early next year to entice people into buying in a couple months early. So yeah, it should be interesting. We should find out a lot more really soon, I think. So yeah, it was a cool game to look at. I hope you guys enjoyed the trailers we previewed. If this wasn't on your radar, and it is now, that's awesome. If you're already familiar with Paragon, you're just tuning into 10 Ton Hammer, check out all our other shows. We cover a lot of different games. Check out our website and stuff. But yeah, just the last kind of closing thing here. We are not going to have a 10 Ton Hammer Talks next week, or I believe the week after. We'll have to see how New Year's plays out. But yeah, we know we're not next week because it's obviously Christmas. So yeah, I kind of wanted to close here with some holiday festivity type stuff. So Jeremy, what are your plans for the holidays? Generally, you doing anything? Any gaming? I know you're going to be taking a nice long end of year vacation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I waited until the very end of the year to take my vacation days. So yeah, no, nothing real special. You know, spend some time with family. You know, and other than that, probably just me doing my own little gamer thing over here.
Nice. So yeah, if anybody's going to be playing the League of Legends, I imagine you'll see Jeremy in there a lot, probably. But yeah, so League of Legends, I'll probably be in there a little bit too. I'll have to catch you while you have all this off time. Get some off time. We'll have to actually link up some more and play some more games. Sure. If I can coax you into some A-Ramps, I know you're a ranked gaming fiend, but yeah. So that's it for me. You know, just kind of similar thing. You know, I'm actually still going to be working for the rest of the month, pretty much. I don't think I'm taking any really days off. Really trying to catch up on getting a little bit behind earlier in the month from not feeling well. But yeah, so I'll be riding on 10 Ton Hammer. You guys can catch my stuff there throughout the rest of the month. And I guess this is we'll see you next year, I guess, for this show. So thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate the audience always. You guys have been really active in there. So it'll be good to see you guys tune in next time, and we will have another cool show planned for you guys. But did I miss anything, Jeremy? I always forget show times or something.
Well, yeah. I mean, aside from I guess the next week or two, you know, other than that, every Friday 3 p.m. Eastern, you know, tune in. If you don't catch the live show, you can always catch it on our YouTube channel or at 10tonhammer.com a few days after. All videos will be posted there as well.
Enjoy your Star Wars. I've got my favorite character, Boba Fett, on, which unfortunately is not going to be part of the movie. But hey, enjoy Star Wars weekend, and yeah, catch you guys in a couple weeks.